A lot of how we look at media and particularly video now is with a performance lens. I don't like the term performance or DR as much, but we're very outcome focused when we're looking at media and particularly video. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we're looking at same store sales, unit sales, how franchisees say their business is doing, overall how the system performs. But we're looking at, MMM, in-store visits, credit card sales data, app downloads, as many signals as we can get to show what the health of the business is. The other stuff we'll do on the campaigns include, obviously we use, first-party data, we use modeled data. We've had pretty good success with, some location data, but actually credit card spend data is good. Historical spenders, people that spend in category. Sports and sports content, we rely on content object data that's in the bit stream to what effect we can do it. So we've been working on, refining a CTV strategy over the last number of years, and contextual's become a big part of it as we look at kind of the how we approach supply differently. And we really started to think about it in kind of three distinct areas. One being, content producers directly, right? We know a strategy to go work with a Disney or a Paramount or a Warner Brothers. That bucket is there, very, kind of keen to agencies and even TV buyers. The next section we were looking at, and we spent a lot of time developing, was the distribution ecosystem, right? How do we work with MVPDs? How do we work with OEMs? How do we work with the folks that are actually distributing that content and combine those two buying things? And then, the last pillar of that kind of curation and supply strategy was really like the fast ecosystem, new, departure, and really how do we approach it with a programmatic mindset? And a lot of those signals, that contextual element really popped to the top. And one, because it's, you're kind of maybe, fishing with dynamite's the wrong term there, or you're navigating. I looked at it like we had a better map than folks. So we were deriving value or finding gold where people weren't really looking. That can drive a lot of efficiency in a media plan and being able to say like, hey, this is like, people aren't really thinking about this here, particularly in, large inventory sources of somewhat opaque inventory, right? Where those signals aren't there, right? Where content owners might not be releasing that signals. There might be rights management issues for them. And that's when we started to really like contextual and looked at what IRIS was doing a lot in categorizing those videos and really bringing basically what we were doing in human-centric curation on the brand side. And we know how to curate in Hulu and even YouTube and things like that. But to this new ecosystem where we can't define it as brand marketers, we don't know all these channels, maybe not know the content, but we know the eyeballs are there and people are there, that we're using those signals to be able to take that level of curation of that inventory. Like I want to be able to stack, in a world of addressability, questionable addressability. We want to, have the most irons in the fire in terms of like opportunities to reach folks, right? Like, if we know first party data, that gives us a better idea of, last visit, how much, lifetime value and those things. But short of that, we're on a discovery mission where we might not have enough addressable data to be there, and that's where we want that contextual data to be able to fill that in or refine or uplift anything else we're doing. Yeah, so all of our media really starts with an audience-led kind of planning approach. So we're looking at who are Carl's Jr. customers, what are they likely to do, how do they differ from Hardee's customers or even Jack in the Box customers, and what services do they subscribe to, what content do they like, and we get signals that say maybe anime or video gaming. It's a highly non-white, younger demographic who is looking for lunchtime options and working. And then we're trying to go out and find that content that meets that audience where they're at. And sometimes that becomes hard in an environment that's scaling as fast as fast channels are probably adding channels continuously, and they're very niche, contextual environments. So what IRIS did is really, provides the framework where, we've used kind of every provider that leverages that ID, whether it was, Grape Shot or Gum Gum or anybody that can take those videos and better identify them and say, here are the signals that are in there. Here are the things that are going to be relevant for the audience. And then how do we, kind of attach them to a programmatic buying mechanism to really like scale them and then measure them and determine how they work. Yeah, so I mean, it's a really interesting premise because it is it shows up in a bid stream, but it's really attached to that piece of content, who owns that content and who produced it. So, if it's, for lack of a better example, Survivor Season 6, Episode 4, that piece of content's always going to have that same ID. And that ID is used by all the contextual providers who go and look at the video, say, here's what's in it. Here are the products that show up. Here are the actors that are in it, right? And that is now categorized in there. And then however it traverses a distribution ecosystem, whether it's, inside, Vizio or Samsung's content, whether it's on a, fast channel from A&E or someone, we can see that and be able to say, here are the signals that are in it. I don't need to know what the content is, but I know that the content has gone through this process, and the contextual signals that are there, I can trust that it's part of the video and part of the actual video and its ownership, like lineage. Yeah, sure. So every provider that approaches, scoring that content as a contextual engine does it differently. But yeah, actors is a big one. But I think, yeah, sentiment and emotion is another one that's probably been one of the best signals in terms of affecting performance. And what we're seeing is that, better aligning, a piece of creative with the content and the sentiment that's involved there really drives outcomes. So we're trying to do that as much as we can, is like even score. We're using IRIS's technology and their partners' technology to score our customers' creatives to say, now we know what that creative is, whether it's happy, energetic, upbeat, optimistic, and we can say, okay, lack of better things, let's go out and try and align that to content that mirrors that same language when people are in that mindset to really be able to be receptive to that message. Yeah, and I mean, we're doing this in a really, I would say this is a very 1.0 environment.
Right.
Doing this and kind of planning against it. We're hoping to build those systems where this happens and we can encourage our clients, not only through their own agencies, but through us and Dynamic Creative, to be able to say, hey, can we iterate on versions of these and be able to better align, even in micro, how you change the language or the copy or the call outs or the music in the background to be able to match. Those are things that we think eventually this can get to with the dynamic nature of content and purely the breadth of content that'll be out there. But Iris was kind of net new for us in one of the Carl's campaigns and quickly earned its way to kind of the top of our, like I said, we have a number of signals, everything from in-store visit, incremental visit lift, incremental sales lift, response rate, right? How quickly somebody is likely to go to the website for the first time after seeing the ad, right? Just all those things that we can point to, and then we try and align it to MMM and same-store sales in one of the Carl's campaigns and quickly earned its way to kind of the top of our, like I said, we have a number of signals, everything from in-store visit, incremental visit lift, incremental sales lift, response rate, right? How quickly somebody is likely to go to the website. We were double-digit percentages above first-party data in some instances, and that's opportunistic in being there. But mainly these were measured against in-store incremental store visits and incremental spend data against that. So we rely on that. That's a great signal, and we're going to keep iterating on that. But yeah, it was definitely like a double-digit percentage lift for us over baseline stuff. DirecTV and Dish do that differently, right? The MVPDs have slightly different naming conventions. There's a lot of different how genre is presented, right? Genre is a decent signal. I want to know if it's sports or basketball or this, but some folks use a lot of different signals. So it takes us a lot of time to see that, curate that, and build those lists that we're looking for more ways to be able to automate that, scale that, and rely on that as like kind of a true signal for what's out there. For us, like we've, I think, many years ago abandoned this, like we're not going to beat the drum about, I don't want to see show level title in there. And quickly what we learned in working with some of this contextual signal is that data is pretty unreliable, right? Or it's very hard to manage. Even, what we call a channel, right? Like it could be, Fox Space News or FNC or Fox News. That becomes hard to manage. But when you have a taxonomy and a standard that does that, then we can say, okay, let's actually focus on media strategy instead of like media operations around this stuff. And that's where we saw things start to scale. And we're going to keep iterating on that.